How can a deeper understanding of ourselves lead to determination, purpose, and meaning? I want to invite you to explore with me the answer to one of the most elusive questions in life. How do we motivate the unmotivated? In order to explain how self-determination and a deeper understanding of our psychology can lead to this, I want to start with an introduction to groundbreaking neuroscience. Then I want to explain how this science is to be integrated into the tenets of the self-determination theory and our psychology. If done properly, this integration will lead to a deeper understanding of self-leadership in all aspects of life. Let's start with exploring an example set forth by Deci and Ryan. These are the two authors of the self-determination theory of motivation. The scenario is, there's two employees and they're given a set of information to study that's relevant to their job, which makes it important. These two individuals are given the same exact time and are considered to be equally motivated to learn this task. One reads and rereads and memorizes every single fact possible and learns a lot. The other takes a much more broader and conceptual approach. She learns some facts, but she can apply the material to the themes. You could say that these two people had two completely different outcomes from the same exact motivation. So the knowledge gain can't exactly be correlational to the motivation entirely. It turns out there is a reason for the difference in these two individuals' processing. Two methods of learning have used two completely separate pathways in the brain to accomplish the same task. This is what we traditionally call left brain and right brain. The first memorizer used all of her motivation and intellect to grasp and obtain all the facts and knowledge pertaining. The second used all of her motivation to make connections and be aware of new emerging patterns. This difference shows how each of our brains is looking at the same situations through different lenses. A concept that the author Mcgilchrist lays out in his new book, Master and His Emissary. He uses research to prove the existence of these lenses of the brain. The circuits of the left brain control patterns of which we use to grasp or catch, to act like a predator, to go and obtain things. We use a high level of detail and narrow focus, allowing us to learn all of the facts. In contrast, the circuits in the right brain have patterns used of prey animals, which are constantly aware and vigilant. They make patterns. They see anomalies in order to stay alive. To be clear, we always use both hemispheres looking at the same situations. We cannot operate with just one. However, these two hemispheres use two different lenses, and there's ways that we can activate each a little bit more. Let's look at the old and wrong way of looking at left brain, right brain circuitry. A person can't just be singularly right-brained or singularly left-brained. That's wrong. We use both hemispheres at the same time. This is an example of how we actually process information. This is a picture, and this is how a left brain circuitry might gather facts from this picture. They might say something like, this is a meadow, there's dew, the sun is rising, grass is green, it looks warm. This is noting facts, being narrowly focused, and creating a useful structure. Now, the same picture that the right brain is looking at, notice that this is the same exact world. But the right brain might say things like this. It appears to be a yard. During sunrise, it's most likely early because the dew is fresh. The sun is just beginning to peak the horizon. The trees exist on a tree line. Everything appears to be safe and calm. Notice the emotion, the broad conceptualizations with connections to patterns across time. Now, let's apply these neurobiological principles to self-determination theory proposed by Deci and Ryan. The two basic tenets stand are controlled motivation and autonomous motivation. These two types of motivation are what are used to process any tasks. A controlled motivation is something that originates from an outside source. It's employed through persuasion or coercion. This type of motivation causes left brain activation to perform concrete tasks that are repeatable. Now, it's important to recognize that when there's controlled motivation, the participant will take the shortest route possible to complete the task. Doesn't matter how meaningful or if there's lives at stake, just how our brain processes it. Then, on the contrast, there's autonomous motivation. This motivation is generally emergent from natural participation in enjoyable activities or activities that hold deep meaning. Autonomous motivation has been proven to lead to far better performance across multiple domains when it's used successfully. It's also been proven to activate right brain circuitry. After looking at that research, it should be clear to us self-leaders that we need to encourage right brain activity all the time, or as much as possible, even though we do need both. We need to integrate our work with the deeper purpose of life. We need to be able to see patterns across time and understand our world at a broader level. In this way, we may be able to sustain the type of motivation that everyone deserves from our work. When we look back into the stories of human history or the mythology, we can see one story emerge which might explain this better than all. This is the hero's journey, and it goes as follows. The hero in all of us is longing to accept the challenge of traveling to the abyss and conquering the unknown. Conquering the unknown with our life, with our family, with our career. We need to understand that there's dragons to go out and to be slayed, and there's strongholds to protect from danger and failure. And this may seem a bit drastic for a self-leader to conceptualize, especially for their work, but the hero's journey is the only place you will find the meaning necessary to determine success and to constantly activate the right brain. We need to be motivated for tasks, functions, and acquisitions of knowledge through our left brain, but then equally we need to use the structure to propel our lives forward into chaos and into order to become the greatest leader that we can become. Carl Jung calls this a personality conjunction. We need to be intentional about taking the self-determined approach to recognizing the very best of our plan and combining it with the very worst of our plan, and then stepping back and looking at an ultimate plan of leadership. With that being said, I need to be candidly critical about the injunction of positive psychology into leadership theory. The entire history of humanity has shared the same setting sun. It's important to recognize that there can not be no new approaches to motivation that'll simply motivate people more or that'll be more effective. We've had thousands of years to work on this. Furthermore, motivation I compare to love as a concept. If I asked you how much you love someone or you loved your parents, you couldn't give me a quantifiable amount. If I told you to love someone more, in contrast, you could only be the person to determine what more actually is. This is the same with motivation. How could you tell someone to be more motivated or show them a list to be more motivated? They'll only activate their left brain circuitry and add it as facts. It's not going to be useful. Positive psychology holds no real weight in the real world. It lacks the power to stop the bad things that are inevitably going to happen. And it doesn't teach the leader how to prepare themselves when those things do happen. The leader has to successfully integrate the best and worst parts of themselves to make a new whole. And they'll always see the avoidance of negative psychology as a great mistake. But I do want to recognize the importance of positive motivational factors and the impact that they have on the individual who has already embarked on this journey. But I do want to recognize the importance of positive motivational factors and the impact that they have on the individual who has already chosen to embark on this journey, who has already accepted that there's negative things that are going to happen. If the employee, worker, student, or friend, whoever it is, has voluntarily accepted this proper challenge and responsibility of meaning, then the power of the leader lies firmly in the ability to encourage and positively motivate that difficult choice that they've already chosen to do. In this way, the leader is fostering exploration, encouraging autonomy, and allowing the follower's choice to be his own. It is then that Deci and Ryan say that the individual will be more creative, have positive emotion, and be able to problem solve more effectively. Nothing could be better for your team. In conclusion, the best teams are the ones who have multiple types of these self-determined individuals, performing the same tasks in different ways and at the same time, pointing at the same ultimate goal. If the tasks are difficult enough, then maybe they'll be meaningful enough to justify the inherent suffering of our work. Not all those who wander are lost, says Tolkien. Therefore, be determined to get lost. Activate your brain in mysterious ways and begin to lead yourself to success. Thank you.